On a sunny day, Mehul visits a restaurant and orders a glass of yogurt drink. After a while, some college students arrive at the same restaurant and order cold drinks.
I don't understand these kids nowadays. They eat and drink all sorts of unhealthy stuff.
The waiter brings the yogurt drink, and Mehul starts drinking it. Mehul receives a call and learns that there has been an accident at a crosswalk. Mehul immediately rushes to the crosswalk in his car. Some people had placed the body of the man by the roadside. Mehul approaches them and asks,
"Why didn't you take him to the hospital? Everyone's just standing around watching."
Then a man explains to Mehul,
The man had died on the spot after the accident, so there was no point in taking him to the hospital.
After that, Mehul checks the dead body and finds some documents and a mobile phone near him.
So, his name is John, and he worked as a security guard at the drinking water factory.
Then Mehul checks on his smartphone.
There's nothing in his phone except for a couple of photos and some contacts. It means he was a very simple man and didn't have much technical knowledge.
Mehul finds his manager's contact number saved in John's phone and immediately tries to call him. The manager tells Mehul
that John had just started working as a security guard a week ago and was on night duty.
Interesting, very interesting. John had only started his job a week ago, and now he's had an accident.
After a while, Mehul notices a CCTV camera installed at a shop across the street from the crosswalk. Mehul promptly enters the shop and requests to view the CCTV footage from the owner. While watching the footage, Mehul comes across a timestamp showing John's accident. As he watches the video, Mehul immediately realizes that John's accident was intentionally.
This isn't just an accident, it's a murder.
Why did Mehul suspect that John's accident was a planned murder? Let me know your answer by commenting below. Watch the video carefully. The car that caused the collision hits John's bike and then speed away without decelerating. If it were truly an accident, the driver would have hit the brakes, and the car must have gone unbalanced. But nothing like that happened and the driver made no attempt to stop. This suggests that the accident was intentionally planned.
There's something suspicious going on here. I need to visit John's factory where they produce drinking water.
Following that, Mehul promptly calls one of his associates, who brings his pickup truck and takes John's damaged bike along. Suddenly, an idea pops into Mehul's head, and he rushes back to the shop to review the CCTV footage. Mehul looks at the car involved in the accident several times, but its number plate wasn't clearly visible. Finally, Mehul pauses the video and uses an application on his mobile phone to zoom in and watch the video. With this, he manages to find the number plate of the car responsible for the accident. After that, Mehul informs all the police stations in the city and provides them with details about the car.
There's no point in searching for that car now because by this time, the killer must have replaced the car's number plate. Who knows, maybe even the entire look of the car.
After that, Mehul places John's dead body in the ambulance and leaves for Dr. Sanjana's lab. However, on the way, Mehul's car gets a puncture.
There's no gauge around here. I'll have to change the tire myself.
Mehul takes out the spare tire from his car's trunk and quickly replaces the punctured one within 10 minutes. Then, he heads over to Dr. Sanjana's lab. The lab door was locked with a logical password. 1. Sailboat. 2. Motorboat. 3. Submarine. 4. Kayak. Can you figure which one is the odd one out? Let me know your answer by commenting. The odd one out among these is the submarine because it operates underwater. Unlike the others that operate on the surface, Mehul presses the number 3 button and enters the lab. Inside the lab, Dr. Sanjana was doing some chemical research.
Dr. Sanjana, prepare the post-mortem report for this deceased individual. Meanwhile, I'll do some investigation on this case.
Afterward, Mehul leaves the body there and heads straight to the factory where John was employed as a security guard.
Manager, I'm Detective Mehul, and I'm here to investigate John's murder.
Mehul searches throughout the drinking water factory. He inspects all the corners in the entire factory, but finds no evidence. Mehul questions all the workers there, but none of them had any information. Afterward, Mehul goes to the manager and examines all the documents of the factory. Suddenly, Mehul's attention is drawn to a register containing details of all the workers and their joining dates. John's name is also there, and he had joined only a week ago. And within the past week, 2 security guards had also joined. This makes Mehul suspicious. Can you guess what Mehul's doubt was? Share your answer by commenting.
Within a week, 3 security guards joined, which means 3 guards also left. Why is this happening? Interesting, very interesting, isn't it? Why would 3 security guards leave their jobs within a month?
To find out the truth, Mehul leaves the factory and waits on the highway near the factory. As the evening sets, 3 workers leave the factory. Mehul approaches them for questioning. The first worker explains,
Sir, I work the day shift, while John used to handle nights. I've hardly interacted with him.
The second worker admits,
Sir, I've only been here for 2 days, so I'm still getting acquainted with everyone.
The third worker states,
Sir, I've been on leave for the past week and just returned today, so I'm not aware of recent happenings.
Listening to their responses, Mehul quickly discerns who might be lying. Can you guess which one among the 3 is lying? The first worker is lying. He claimed not to know John because they worked different shifts, but then he revealed about John's night duties. Mehul catches him and interrogates further. The worker confesses that
Inside the factory, illegal alcohol is brewed at night instead of water, and it's supplied during the night.
However, he insists he had no idea about John's death.
Interesting, very interesting. This means that alcohol is brewed inside the factory at night, which is why 3 security guards left their jobs within a month.
Mehul immediately calls the police and rushes into the factory. As the police conduct a raid inside the factory, they discover a machine for brewing alcohol in the basement, and thousands of liters of alcohol are seized. However, the factory manager escapes through the back gate. Mehul chases after him, but the manager suddenly disappears.
There are many factories around here. The manager must have hidden in one of them.
Down the next street, Mehul spots 3 factories. Can you tell in which factory will Mehul go first? Let me your answer by commenting. Carefully observe, the first and second factory manufacture thread, while the third one is a drinking water factory. This means the manager is likely familiar with the third factory because his own factory also produces drinking water. Hence, there's a connection between these two. Mehul enters the third factory immediately. There, he encounters a man and interrogates him. The man is startled and reveals the manager's whereabouts. The manager was hiding in the factory's bathroom. Mehul apprehends him and gives him a hard slap.
Tell me the truth, why did you kill John?
Then the manager confesses that John had discovered their illegal alcohol brewing operation, and they were afraid that he would inform the police, so they had killed him. Afterward, Mehul arrests both the manager and the owner of the factory, including all those involved in the illegal alcohol brewing. Case solved, Detective Mehul rocks. At 4 o'clock in the morning, Mehul was sleeping peacefully when he received a call informing him that there was a fire inside a lab and a scientist was trapped inside. Mehul immediately rushed to the lab in his car. The lab building was located on the 3rd floor, and there was a fierce fire raging inside. Upon reaching the building, Mehul approached the security guard stationed below.
Sir, I was the one who called you. I am the security guard of this building.
Uncle, how did the fire start? What were you doing at that time?
Sir, someone drugged me with water, so I fell asleep.
Interesting, very, very interesting. It means someone deliberately set the fire. Uncle, who is inside the lab at the moment?
Sir, at the moment, only Scientist Bennett is working inside the lab, but he hasn't come out yet. His life is in danger, that's why I called you.
Mehul immediately reached the 3rd floor of the building, but he couldn't enter the lab because the flames were too intense. Mehul heard Scientist Bennett's cries for help
Save me, save me.
from inside the lab.
Scientist Bennett, where are you? I have come to rescue you.
Then, he heard Scientist Bennett's cries for help from inside the lab.
Save me, save me.
I have to find a way to enter the lab somehow. Scientist Bennett's life is in danger.
Mehul saw 3 possible paths to enter the lab. Can you tell me which one Mehul can take? Think carefully. Pay attention. The flames completely blocked the first door, so Mehul couldn't go through either from below or from above. The second path is also blocked by intense flames covering the entire door. However, if you carefully observe the third door, you'll notice that the flames are only on the upper side, leaving a significant gap underneath. Mehul had a skating board beside him. He lays down on the skating board and slides under the third door, entering the lab. Inside the lab, there was a severe fire.
There's a terrible fire in here. If I go and wonder what happened to Scientist Bennett.
Mehul immediately enters the lab but finds it completely engulfed in flames, and Scientist Bennett's body is charred. Mehul thoroughly checks Scientist Bennett's dead body but finds no evidence.
Scientist Bennett burned to death before my eyes. I won't spare the murderer.
After some time, the building manager arrives.
Manager, tell me the truth. Who killed Scientist Bennett?
Sir, I have no idea.
Only a few people knew that scientist Bennett worked inside the lab early in the morning.
Interesting, very very interesting. It means the killer knew that scientist Bennett would be working inside the lab at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Mehul checks the CCTV footage of the lab. Since the camera was burnt after the fire, no footage from after the fire is available. However, Mehul finds CCTV footage from the previous day and discovers a clue. Can you tell me what clue Mehul found by observing both CCTV footages? Think carefully. By observing both CCTV footages carefully. Leaving aside the car, the remaining 3 buttons are blue in color, but the car is white in color. Mehul presses the 4th button, and the lab door opens. Mehul enter in a lab. After that, Mehul leaves a voice message for Dr. Sanjana and leaves from there. Mehul immediately returns to the same building where the lab was on fire. Mehul first interrogates the manager there.
Manager, tell me the truth. Did scientist Bennett have a fight with someone?
Sir, scientist Bennett was a very good person. He never had a fight with anyone. But for the past 4 or 5 days, a friend of his often came to meet him.
Interesting, very very interesting. I need a photo of that man.
The manager shows him the photo from his laptop.
Well done, manager. Now I will find out who this man is.
Mehul immediately sends that photo to Sonia. After some time, Sonia calls Mehul and tells him that the man's name is Mr. Knight. He is a businessman from another city, and he also has a factory where medicines are made. Everyone calls Mr. Knight by name.
It seems I have to go to another city to interrogate Mr. Knight.
Mehul immediately sets off for the city in his car. There were 3 routes from Mehul's city to Mr. Knight's city. The first route starts from the main highway, but this route is quite long. The second route starts from the side of the lake, and this is the shortest route, but there are many crocodiles in the lake, and they are often sitting on the road. The third route goes through the jungle, but at this time, there are many dacoits in the jungle. Can you tell me which route Mehul can take among these 3? Think about it. As for Mehul, he won't go through the jungle route because there are dacoits there, and at this time, he has to go for another case, so why take a risk? The first route is also good, but the second route is a shortcut, and Mehul is wearing a sweater, meaning it's cold outside, and in such cold weather, crocodiles won't come out of the lake in the morning because the water of the lake remains warm in the morning, so all the crocodiles will be inside the water, and the road will be completely clear. Mehul takes the shortcut route next to the lake and reaches the other city. As soon as Mehul arrives in the other city, he first goes to Mr. Knight's factory. Mehul parks his car outside the factory and changes his clothes so that he cannot be recognized. Mehul enters the factory wearing different clothes, but there were 2 security guards outside the factory. They stop him.
I am Mr. Knight's man. Mr. Knight has sent me.
As soon as the security guard hears Mr. Knight's name, he lets Mehul enter the factory. After seeing the scene inside the factory, Mehul is amazed.
Interesting, very interesting. It means Mr. Knight makes duplicate medicines and sells them.
Mehul calmly comes out of the factory and calls Mr. Knight.
Mr. Knight, I need duplicate medicines worth 5 crores. I am standing outside your factory.
10 minutes later, Mr. Knight comes out of the factory, and Mehul catches him and calls the police. The police raid the factory.
Mr. Knight, tell me the truth. Why did you go to meet scientist Bennett?
Mr. Knight reveals that scientist Bennett had a very good formula that could be used to produce duplicate medicines at a very low cost, and the price of those medicines in the market was in millions. However, scientist Bennett did not share that formula with him, so he set the lab on fire.
Mr. Knight, in your pursuit of earning more money, you murdered scientist Bennett. Now you'll sit in jail and keep making duplicate medicines.
Case solved. Detective Mehul rocks.